we had an ESPN field trip on Friday. Now, they have a town hall for the 40th anniversary of SportsCenter and ESPN. So it's an in-house broadcast. There were probably around 700 employees under a tent. And it was broadcast throughout ESPN for those who couldn't be there. I have Bob Lee up there on the podium, the dais, Robin Roberts, Mike Tirico, Susie Colbert, and Chris Berman and myself. And we were supposed to do 45 minutes. We ended up doing about an hour and a half. And we probably could have continued for another couple of hours. We just told stories. And it was fun. It was great to see a lot of people behind the scenes who meant a whole lot to me, that they're still employed there, and I got a chance to see them. I hadn't seen Robin Roberts in a while. Seeing Bob Lee and Chris Berman, who I've seen periodically, Susie Colbert, and then, of course, Mike Tirico. And there were people up there that, it was good. There was some closure there. And then I kept it a secret from most people, including my family, except for my wife, that I was going to try to do a SportsCenter with Keith Olbermann. And what happened was, I wasn't going to go up to the town hall, but their president, Jimmy Pitaro, who I have great respect for, said, hey, would you do this? And I thought, God, I don't want to put on a suit and tie to go up for my own wake. That's what it felt like. I was going back for my own funeral. And I said, no, I've already died up there. And then I thought about it. And of course, I got great advice from my wife. And she said, you may have closure, but other people up there don't. Other people realized what happened behind the scenes. And maybe this isn't for you. Maybe this is for them. And I said, you're right. You're right. And so that was one of the biggest reasons why I went up, is so I could see some of these people who were uncomfortable with the way things ended on SportsCenter. But that's been 13 years. And I moved on. I have other enemies. I don't have anybody up there. But, it'd been 22 years since I sat on a SportsCenter desk set with Keith Olbermann. And I was nervous about that. We haven't been in touch. We never really had a close relationship. But when we did SportsCenter, we did it and you would have thought we were best friends. And we did it with, for the right, motives. We just wanted to make great TV. And for almost 5 years, we did. We get far too much credit, but it was still fun to be up there, get together. And I said to management, because my former boss, Norby Williamson, said, what would you think of doing SportsCenter again? And I'm like, no, you got me on campus for one. This isn't one of those, hey, while you're here, would you like to do SportsCenter? And I said, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with it, because we'll never be as good as what people remember us being. And then once again, my wife said, this isn't about you. It's about everybody else who may tune in for it. And I said, God, you're right again. Will you stop it? And the person I got a hold of first was Scott Van Pelt. And I said, Scott, here's this idea. And it's your show. He goes, oh, no. Are you kidding me? It'd be awesome. And I said, yeah, but, it's going to take over the show. He goes, no. I love it. And, his generosity is what made it work, too. But I said to ESPN, nobody can know about this. Let's try to keep a secret for a change. Even on campus, Chris Berman and Bob Lee did not know that I was doing a show that night. They had no idea. So when I left, I said goodbye to Chris Berman, and he said, thanks for coming home. He did not know that I was not going home, my actual home. I was staying there. And you probably had about 15 people who knew. And then management got a hold of Keith and Keith said, love to do it. And then he got up there. I hadn't seen him in a while. Haven't talked to him. It didn't take long before all of a sudden we're just having fun. We're jabbing each other. It was we were going back to what we did 22 years ago. And then we got on the set, and I said, here are things that I want to talk about. We'll do baseball highlights so, we can be contemporary and make it like it's a real SportsCenter. But I did tell everybody, let's wait till around 10 o'clock before we tweet out anything. Let's do our best to not do what ESPN always does and smothers something. And they said, yes, that's fine. We'll do that. The other part, I wanted to talk about our favorite SportsCenter moments. I wanted to talk about the commercials that we did, catchphrases. And they said, yes, yes, and yes. And I said, good. And I got out of there. And what was great is the reaction I got from people who didn't know it was happening. So they thought, 40th anniversary. Oh, they're showing some video of Dan and Keith. Oh, my God, you guys are on SportsCenter. And that's the reaction I wanted. If you tuned in, then you tuned in for the right reason. You were tuning in for Van Pelt, and you were tuning in following tennis. And if we could somehow surprise you, the number of texts I got from friends were, oh, my God, you guys are doing SportsCenter. And that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be a surprise, and it was a pleasant surprise for a lot of people, and thank you. I'm not going back to work at ESPN doing SportsCenter. This was a one and done, officially retire, and I'm glad I did it. If you would have said to me 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I would have said never. But I was really proud and happy the Danettes came up for the town hall. And you guys were in the second row, and just your reaction to it was genuine. It was honest. It was emotional for me. And I remember Robin Roberts saying after, you're a softie. And I go, yeah, I was first one to cry. And then I was bringing everybody else in. I was getting them. And the only guy who didn't crack, the general, Bob Lee. He never cracks. He's a journalist. But, yeah, it was emotional. And then I think it was Bob Lee saying, oh, no, it was one of the producers, Mike McQuaid. He goes, why was it so emotional? I said, when you work with that group for that long a time and those people, and you share in their lives, and then when it's done and then it's gone, it's an emotional breakup. And I didn't know how much we meant to those people. Sometimes you have to leave to find out how much you mean to somebody. And I realized we really did. And I mean, I just did it. And hopefully I was a good worker and cohort, those kind of things, good employee. But it was just nice to see people who did these jobs back then, and they're still there, 20 years, 15 years later. So I'm glad the Danettes went up, got to see that. And it was really impressive when I'm up there on the dais and you have all of that talent up there. You have Hall of Famers up there. I mean, Bob's a Hall of Famer, and Chris is, and Mike and Robin, who I love. You're surrounded by people who've done a lot of things. And that's when it started to seep in a little bit. And then all of a sudden, I started cracking a little bit. And I went, oh, boy, I'm done. Because my wife said, are you going to cry? I go, no, I'm not going to cry. And then I say, why would you ask me if I'm going to cry? Like, don't even put that word in my head. You set me up. Oh, my God. And the first time I started to cry, I paused. And then I'm always waiting for somebody to, jump in. They're all looking at me as if I swallowed something. I was choking on my food. So it's a live crowd, 700 people, and they're going, what's wrong with him? What happened? 5 seconds go by. And I go, I got to spit out something. And I couldn't. I think I said, holy bleep. And then the crowd reacted. And then I gathered myself. And there was one time where I was talking about something, and then it went to somebody else, and it came back to me, and I started to talk again. I go, no, can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, Susie and Mike Tirico tried to help you out a little bit. They were sitting on either side of you. They put like a little comforting arm on your shoulder to try to just comfort you a little bit while they saw you getting that choked up.
And then I asked Paulie to stay because I just thought, you know what, somebody outside of this looking at it, because Paulie didn't work on SportsCenter, but when he was there at ESPN. So to have him kind of look at it and say, hey, what about this? Or he was just another set of eyes and ears, and it was really a welcomed addition. And at the very end, Paulie said, why don't you get ready to say something like it's an announcement, and then you fade to black, like The Sopranos. And everybody went, awesome. Because I said, let's get Don't Stop Believin' by Journey and play that too. And we actually tried to do that. But we wanted it to fade to black and then just come up and say, this is SportsCenter. And not everybody got it, but that's okay. But that was Paulie's suggestion there, that why don't you guys just do that? And, it was a nice day, a nice night. Yeah, Paulie.
The two things that really stuck out to me was after the town hall, I think it's maybe at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's a beautiful sunny day on campus. It's like 67 degrees. ESPN campus is gorgeous. It's built up so much. And we're standing behind the tent. And it's me, you, the Danettes. Like, here comes Kenny Mayne, and there's Mike Tirico, and there's Boomer. And then here comes Kevin Nagandi. And all these different anchors are walking up. And then a bunch of employees, like producer types, are walking up to you. And they all have gray hair now, but you still recognize their faces. And they're coming up and hugging you like a high school reunion feel behind the tent. And then Jimmy Pitaro, the president of ESPN, is just hanging and chit-chatting with all the people. And the PR people are standing there. And people were just lined up to come and give you a hug and give you good to see you. And you're like, oh, my God, that was really cool because it felt like natural, not forced in any way. And then the other highlight for me, like you said, I never worked on SportsCenter, and I never got to work with you and Keith. To see you and Keith get back into your roles within 5 seconds of walking in that room. We're in Scott Van Pelt's production room. He's got this big room. He's got some great producers. Stanford Steve is there. And you and Keith sat next to each other. And I sat behind you purposely to stay out of the way, but also to eavesdrop, basically. And you and Keith are just kind of jabbing each other, jabbing the highlights. And Keith's like, oh, the Cardinals, shocker, they won. And then you're like, well, and you went right back into routine. Like those 22 years got compressed into nothing. And I was like, this is fascinating. You guys are running the room casually. And it was really cool for me to see how you and Keith played off each other. Totally different personalities, totally different styles. And then when you got on set, you guys kept poking and laughing and poking and laughing. And I had to take pictures of it because it was so cool.
Yeah, it was natural. But that's what they said. Well, how do we set it up so it's like it was for you and Keith? And I said, we didn't talk that much during the night writing SportsCenter. But then we'd go put our makeup on in the bathroom. And then we would catch up for like 10 minutes, and then we'd go do the show because we never wanted to, show our cards. He was going to try to entertain me. I was going to try to entertain him because there's no studio audience. You just have the camera people there. Those are the people you're trying to make laugh. And it was fun that way to be able to do that. But some great people up there. I miss them, but it'll be from afar. I'll miss you. Yes, Eden.
It is crazy how watching you guys do the 11 o'clock SportsCenter and hearing it, like Paul said, it immediately took you right back. And it was kind of like, oh, yeah, that's what this is supposed to sound like. This is exactly what it was supposed to be. It's what we all remember. And even, like, I'm sitting there with my wife, and, like, we're both smiling ear to ear for 90 minutes because they're like, this is what it is. This is what it's supposed to be. It was really great.
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity. And I didn't know I needed it as much as I did until I was riding home. And I didn't have the music on. It was just quiet. And it's never quiet. Because I used to leave ESPN, and I would call Paulie's machine at work, and I would leave a message for him, and it would be 2 minutes of me talking up to the vocals on a song. Like, just to kill time. It was 55 minutes for me to drive home. And I had no sound on the radio at all. I just drove home thinking and letting it sink in. I got home. And I'm not supposed to drink beer. I got home and had a beer. And I was in the basement by myself. No, the TV's not on. I just sat there and I went, wow. I don't know what just happened. Glad it did. And we move on. We move on. Yeah, Paul.
One of the highlights was also Van Pelt was pretty giddy because, he was the big conduit of this. He's got this great late night show. He goes, let's go upstairs. He goes, come here. He goes, let's go upstairs. When you and Keith first got on set around 9:30 p.m. on Friday night to tape a little piece. And he goes, let's go upstairs and take a picture behind him. He goes, I'm going to walk up and I'm going to give like a point to the back of their heads. He goes, you get a picture and then we run out. I'm like, Scott, it's your set. You don't have to sneak around. And so Van Pelt gets behind you. You didn't even know he was there. And he gives this look like, look who's here. And he posted it. He said, going to be a big show tonight. And he tweeted that out like at 10 o'clock. And the reaction was like, this is happening. This is cool. And it was really cool to see how it just blossomed naturally.
By the way, I recruited Van Pelt to come to ESPN. Like I wanted to create a dynasty there. I wanted the best talent there. I didn't care if they were in competition. I wanted Van Pelt to leave the Golf Channel. I was begging him. I said, you are so much better than what you're doing at the Golf Channel. And then he finally relinquished and came up there. And he's a really talented guy. I mean, just the one big thing that he did at the end of the show it's really good, and that shouldn't get lost in what we did or who we are or what we meant to SportsCenter. There are a lot of talented people there, but Van Peasy is really good at what he does on that show. Really is. And I just publicly want to thank him for his generosity, because he needed to be all in for this to work.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.